I promised her I will never, ever stop looking for the person that hurt you both.
Today's video takes us back to the 1990s, but this is not a story that stayed there. This is a case that still follows the family and friends who have had to carry it every single day. This is the story of 11-year-old Robin Cornell and 32-year-old Lisa Story, two deeply loved, vibrant people whose lives were taken in Florida, leaving behind a kind of devastation that never faded, even after the news cycle moved on. And this case isn't distant to me. One of my closest friends considered Robin her best friend. They grew up together, sleepovers, playing Nintendo, sharing the kind of everyday moments that feel permanent when you're a kid. Their mothers worked together, their families were close. Their lives were woven together in ways that felt safe and familiar. When Robin was taken, it didn't just end a life. It shattered my friend's sense of safety entirely. The impact was so deep that her family eventually left Florida altogether, trying to put physical distance between themselves and a place that had become inseparable from fear. The early 1990s were a very different time. No smartphones, no social media, no constant stream of updates. Doors were left unlocked. Kids slept without fear. You didn't refresh a feed to find out what was happening in the community. You got a phone call, or you watched the evening news. And sometimes that phone call came and everything changed in an instant. That illusion of safety is exactly what cases like this destroy. Robin Cornell wasn't just a name in a police report. She was someone's daughter, someone who made people feel loved. My friend remembers Robin as a constant presence in her life, laughing through sleepovers, playing games, sharing the kind of friendship that feels unbreakable at that age. When Robin's life was taken, that sense of permanence disappeared in a single moment. Lisa's story mattered too. She was deeply loved. She had plans, she had dreams, and she had a future that should have been hers to live out, but she never got the chance. True crime often reduces victims to timelines and evidence, but Robin and Lisa were real people, daughters, friends. Their deaths sent shockwaves through an entire community. This wasn't something that happened somewhere else. It was close. And once the fear arrived, nothing felt safe again. For my friend, the fear was immediate and overwhelming. After Robin's murder, she was so terrified she couldn't sleep in her own room. Imagine being a child and realizing that the one place meant to protect you no longer feels safe. That kind of fear doesn't fade. It rewires you. Her parents watched their child change. Constant anxiety, hypervigilance, the sense that something terrible could happen at any moment. Eventually, they realized staying wasn't an option. Florida had started to feel synonymous with fear, the kind of collateral damage that permanently alters lives. This is the part of these stories that so often goes unseen. On the night of May 9th, 1990, Jan Cornell, a devoted single mother and hospital employee, left her 11-year-old daughter in the care of a close friend, Lisa Story. Before dawn, 38-year-old Jan Cornell was already late for her shift at the hospital. She'd gone to her boyfriend's apartment a few blocks away to finish watching a playoff basketball game, fully expecting to be home before midnight, but she'd fallen asleep. When she jolted awake a little after 4 a.m., panic hit. She hurried home to shower and throw herself together. She was determined to slip in quietly so she wouldn't wake anyone. Inside the condo were two people she cared about, her 11-year-old daughter Robin and their new roommate, 32-year-old Lisa Story. Lisa had just moved in and hadn't even finished unpacking. Jan reached the front door, slid her key into the lock and tried to go in, then froze. The doorknob lock was broken. If the doorknob was locked, the door couldn't be opened from the outside. Jan had made that crystal clear before she left the night before. Only lock the deadbolt. Now she pounded on the door and called their names. She heard footsteps inside, someone moving around, so she waited for the door to open. It didn't. Confusion turned into dread. Jan circled the building, moving fast, trying to stay ahead of the fear rising in her throat. When she reached the patio, she saw it immediately. The sliding glass door was open, and the blinds were shifting in the breeze like the house itself was breathing. The kitchen light was on. An ironing board was set up and laid across it, flat and deliberate, were photographs of Jan's daughters, Robin and her older daughter Jeannie, who had moved out only a few weeks earlier. There was no reason those pictures should have been there. Jan didn't walk. She ran. Upstairs, she glanced into Lisa's room first. Lisa lay on her side, turned away from the doorway, still as if she were asleep. Jan's heart hammered. She crossed the hall and stepped into Robin's room. Robin was on the floor. Jan rushed to her, and the world narrowed to one horrible image. Her little girl, naked. A pillow rolled beneath her abdomen. Jan scooped Robin up without thinking, cradling her like she could undo what her eyes were telling her. Robin's skin was cold. Jan screamed. She shouted for Lisa to get up and help, to do something, anything. Lisa didn't respond. Jan grabbed the phone and called 911.
Oh my God, hurry! Ma'am, please just calm down with me. Oh my God!
She pressed and breathed and begged the universe to give her a miracle. She knew deep down Robin was gone, but she couldn't stop trying. A mother doesn't stop, not when there's even the smallest chance she can pull her child back. Minutes later, first responders arrived. Jan was hysterical, unable to speak. All she could do was point upstairs. And then, as the paramedics came back down, the question ripped out of her. Did you wake Lisa? The answer hit like a second loss. Lisa was dead too. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a medical emergency. Someone had been inside that home. Someone had broken in and murdered them both. When detectives arrived, they began climbing the stairs and noticed jewelry scattered along the steps. They stopped to photograph it, collect it, bag it as evidence. In the spare bedroom where Lisa had been staying, the room looked like it had been ransacked. Lisa had barely moved in, but her belongings were strewn everywhere. Every box rummaged through like a frantic search. It was chaos, violent and intentional. Lisa was found dead on the bed, partially clothed, lying on her side. A pillow lay near her head as if someone had tried to silence her. Then investigators moved to Robin's room. Robin was found unclothed from the chest down. Bruising on her face and neck suggested smothering. The scene itself suggested something even worse, that the killer hadn't just taken a life, but had violated it. Investigators took everything they could: hair, fibers, any visible fluids. They collected well over 100 pieces of evidence, but at first, none of it had a name attached to it. No clear suspect, no obvious answer. They inventoried what had been taken. Lisa's checkbook was missing, credit cards, her ID. A new watch she had engraved for her boyfriend was gone too. The packaging left behind, opened on the bed like another cruel detail. Outside, the side gate was found standing open. The sliding glass door, Jan's way in, looked like it may have been the way the killer came and went. And then there was the ironing board. Those photos weren't random. Someone had taken them down and placed them where Jan would see them immediately. It didn't feel like theft. It felt like a message, like a deliberate act of cruelty meant for one specific person to find. That possibility shifted everything, because staging like that suggested motive: revenge, resentment, something personal. Robin had been an easygoing kid, always smiling, the kind of child who made a room feel lighter just by being in it. She loved sports and being outside, and even at 11, she had big dreams. She wanted to be a writer. She filled pages with poems and little stories about everything she saw and felt. Jan wanted to give her daughter the world, but as a single mother, money was tight. When Jeannie moved out, Jan had an empty bedroom. Lisa Story, a coworker and friend, needed a place to stay, and what started as an offhand offer became real. Lisa asked if Jan truly meant it, and Jan said yes. Lisa was excited for the fresh start. Outgoing, friendly, the kind of person who seemed to get along with everyone, she looked like the perfect fit. The night she moved in, Jan's boyfriend and Robin helped carry the final boxes upstairs. Afterward, the four of them sat together and watched the playoff game on the couch. When the game went into overtime, Jan decided to walk to her boyfriend's place nearby and finish watching there. She assumed she'd be back within an hour. She never made it back that night. The window left behind was about 5 hours, time in which a stranger entered a home and turned it into a crime scene. Autopsies later confirmed what the scene suggested. Both Robin Cornell and Lisa Story died of asphyxiation. Both had been sexually assaulted. Biological evidence was recovered from both victims. Hair collected from the scene was tested, and early analysis suggested the suspect was a white male with type O blood. But in those early days of DNA, that information wasn't enough to identify one person. At the time, it was just another piece of evidence. Silent, waiting. It would take decades before it finally spoke. For years, detectives pursued every lead they could, hundreds of interviews, door-to-door canvassing. The case was featured on America's Most Wanted. A retired NYPD detective was brought in to help. Still, no arrest came, but Jan never stopped. She refused to let her daughter and her friend become forgotten names. She promised she would keep searching for the person responsible, and she kept that promise year after year. In 2009, Florida passed a law allowing DNA collection from individuals charged with felonies. That change would prove critical. In 2016, a DNA match finally connected the crime scene to a man arrested in the Lee County Jail. Joseph Zeiler had a fairly limited criminal record. In the early 1980s, he held arrests for grand theft auto and burglary. Shortly after the homicide, he was arrested again, this time for carrying a concealed weapon and resisting arrest. After that, Zeiler didn't show up on law enforcement's radar until a bizarre incident landed his DNA in the system. Zeiler was booked after an altercation in which he shot his own son with a pellet gun. During processing, he was swabbed for DNA, and that sample came back as a match to the murders of Robin and Lisa. The match was essentially definitive. Odds of a random person matching were about 1 in 83 quintillion. And because he was already in custody, detectives didn't have to go far to sit down and interview him in person. Further testing confirmed it, and Zeiler would later demonstrate, even in court, just how hollow and disturbing he was. Engaging in behavior meant to provoke attention rather than accountability. It wasn't clever or defiant. It was a reminder of a man completely devoid of empathy or humanity. He deserves no sympathy. The fact that he was afforded due process at all is more mercy than he ever showed Robin or Lisa. In 2023, more than 33 years after the murders, the case finally went to trial. Prosecutors relied on DNA evidence and expert testimony. The defense attempted to raise doubt, but the science stood firm. Zeiler also appeared in court with grotesquely fake teeth he'd purchased and drawn on to look real, even scrawling the word killer on them with a permanent marker. The look wasn't clever or rebellious. It was unsettling, juvenile, and callously disrespectful to the families forced to sit through each day of testimony. During the trial, the defense tried to claim the hair was blonde, not brunette. They accused Jan of living a double life and hinted that her shady actions led to the deaths. Obviously, they offered no proof, a clear and false attempt to deflect blame. Usually, when a defendant testifies, they try to come off as harmless and believable, hoping that image outweighs the evidence. Here, the evidence against Zeiler was overwhelming, and when he took the stand, it was a train wreck.
I wrote all this.
You directed this towards Jan Cornell. Did you address to Jan Cornell the following? The only way, underlined, is to admit you possibly could have slept with me as a night encounter, and you can't remember, you won't be sure, you won't retest.
I was trying to get her to ask to retest NB32A because it doesn't contain my DNA. I don't believe it is.
They actually took the sheet, recut another sample, and had another analyst do the same test. And their opinion on that was that Jan Cornell was excluded from that DNA.
I don't think she was. I think that if it was listed, that's the reason I asked for it to be retested, because I don't believe that.
Did you also direct this to Jan Cornell? If you knowingly allow them to convict the wrong man out of spite and vengeance, I will drag this, parentheses, and you, Robin and Lisa, through appeals all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely, I wrote that.
And did you also write on the next line, I'm innocent, I will prove it, no matter how long it takes. Do you really want the rest of your life spent in court?
Yes, I wrote that.
You're threatening then Miss Cornell with what you're going to do. Should she not? What? What do you want her to do?
Well, she's calling me a rapist and a murderer, so what? I can't write that. I mean, she's calling me a rapist and a murderer, and I'm calling her a pig for not washing her sheets. It's the paper right here that they're trying to hide from you.
Mr.
Right
Zeiler.
here. I still see the body of 11-year-old
Mr.
Robin
Zeiler.
Cornell with the hand, with the hair of her
Ladies and
killer.
gentlemen, the jury will step out.
The blonde
Mr.
hair of her
Zeiler,
killer.
please.
Yes.
Is that in any way unclear?
Can I use the microphone?
Is that in any way unclear, Mr. Zeiler?
Joseph Zeiler is a piece of human garbage. He is a disgusting human being who lacks remorse, empathy, or even the barest sense of human decency. In 2023, the jury returned its verdict. Guilty on both counts of first-degree murder. The jury recommended the death penalty, and the judge imposed it under Florida law. It didn't undo the harm, but it ended the uncertainty. Zeiler paid for what he did to Robin Cornell and Lisa Story, who were no longer just a cold case. But this story isn't about him. It's about Robin. It's about Lisa. It's about the families who lost daughters, the friends who lost their sense of safety. So when we talk about this case, remember who deserves to be remembered. Not the ego, not the spectacle, not the man who tried to turn horror into performance. This is about Robin and Lisa and the justice that came only because of a mother's unwavering determination, relentless love, and police work that refused to let the case disappear. Robin and Lisa were more than headlines and evidence. Lisa's Story was 32 years old, with a life she cared about and people who cared about her. On the day she was murdered, she had just moved in with Jan and Robin. She was working at the hospital, where she and Jan were co-workers, and she had a fiancé who loved her deeply. He spoke publicly about how much she meant to everyone who knew her, and how the impact of her loss was felt by family and friends alike. She was part of a community, had people who relied on her, and had a future that should have kept unfolding, with love, work, and a shared life ahead. Robin Cornell was a beautiful, bright 11-year-old spirit. She wasn't shy. She talked to everyone at school, even the kids others might have teased, because that was just who she was, open, curious, and kind. Robin didn't just know a lot of people. She laughed, played, and dreamed every day about the life she wanted to live when she grew up, until a disgusting human being stole that future from her. These weren't just crimes from the 90s. They're a reminder that violence doesn't expire. Trauma doesn't end with an arrest. Some people carry it every day for the rest of their lives. Thanks for watching. Remember to stay curious, stay safe, and stay skeptical.